How's it going, guys? Phil here, and this is a review for the Hisense U7 Series 55-inch ULED Mini LED TV. Thank you to Best Buy for sending me this product for free to try. In the box, you'll receive the flat panel TV, two angled support brackets for the stand, each with an M415 screw tucked in the back, a pack of 8 M516 screws, 5-foot power cord, remote control, two AAA batteries, and 6¼ pound base plate that measures 10¼ inches by 13¾ inches. The yellow illustrated installation guide shows you how to unbox the unit and attach the included stand. The entire back cover of the remote control slides off to reveal the battery bay, where you'll install the included batteries. It has a pinhole mic status LED, power and input source keys, dedicated buttons for Netflix, YouTube, Prime Video, Disney Plus, kids content, and a customizable favorite key. Then you have profile swap, push to talk mic, quick settings, 4-way navigation D-pad, OK button, back, home, live TV, volume and channel adjustment, free TV key, menu, numpad, and mute button. The remote is backlit and even lights up automatically when it's picked up in dim lighting. However, you'll notice that only the main function keys in dark gray with white icons are backlit, like settings, volume, channel, mute, and menu. The power and one-touch buttons for the various streaming services are not backlit. Don't forget to remove the plastic film on top for best performance, although the remote does not need a line of sight to the TV in order to operate. When unboxing the screen, be sure to keep the foam stickers on the sides installed and avoid putting direct pressure on the front of the display to prevent damage to it. The screen size is 48¼ inches wide and 28 inches tall with a 55-inch diagonal. The bezels on the TV are razor thin at about 1/16 of an inch at the sides and top, while the thicker chin along the bottom is about ½ an inch tall. The panel's thickness is just over 2 inches, so not the thinnest out there, but the unit overall is still pretty lightweight at just over 30 pounds. At the center of the display, along the bottom, you'll find the power button and microphone mute toggle switch. This area here houses ambient light sensors, so the panel can automatically adjust settings like brightness and color temperature based on the current environment. On the back of the screen, you'll find the subwoofer in the center, two main speaker drivers towards the bottom, and two surround channel speakers towards the top on the sides. The two sets of threaded holes are for attaching the stand, which can be set to a high or low position depending on where the supports are attached. Attaching them in the upper position allows the panel to sit lower on your console, while moving the supports to the lower position will raise the panel about 1¼ inch so you can fit a soundbar underneath the screen. Optionally, you can wall mount the TV using the 400mm VESA-compatible attachment points located under the 4 screws around the subwoofer. When installing the stand, the covers on the back of the support brackets should be removed prior to installation by unclipping their catches towards the top and pulling the cover outward. On the bottom of the base plate are a number of grips to prevent it from sliding around easily on your entertainment console. The supports attached to the holes in the corners simply match the two small posts on the bottom of the supports to the smaller holes on the top of the base. Then secure them using two M516 screws from underneath. Do this on both sides. Now choose the height you want by attaching the M415 screws in the marked positions low or high. These posts will slot into the center keyholes on the support brackets. Then secure the supports with the M516 screws above and below. Now we can place the power cord in the left support bracket and reinstall the cover over it. The cord plugs into the AC port on the left side, and the I/O is located on the other side. There is a USB-A 2.0 port and a USB-A 3.0 port with ½ an amp and 1 amp power output respectively. Both of these ports can be used with a USB flash drive loaded with pictures, music, and movies, so you can play and view them on the TV. But note that the USB 3 port has data speeds up to 10 times faster than the USB 2 port. You can also access other file types like APKs if you'd like to sideload apps not available in the Google Play Store. Next are the 4 HDMI 2.1 inputs, and note here that only HDMI 3 is eARC and CEC compatible, though all of them can accept input streams up to 4K resolution at 165Hz refresh rate. There's also a coaxial input for use with digital over-the-air antennas or cable signal, digital audio out, also known as optical out, and an Ethernet jack for wired networking or internet access. Once you're done setting it up, then you can remove the protective foams and films covering the display. The surface of the screen is matte with an anti-glare and anti-reflection coating, so other than my studio lights, you won't see a ton of reflections or glare on the screen. When you turn it on, after a brief splash screen, the built-in Android-based OS Google TV will launch, and there's a little bit of setup the first time the TV is turned on. Using the remote control, select your language and region. Then you can opt for quick setup by scanning the displayed QR code with a mobile phone, or you can enter your settings manually using the remote, and I opted for the former. This just transfers some information from your phone to the TV, like your Wi-Fi network name and password, and Google account login information. You'll need to agree to some terms and conditions, set communication preferences, app sharing, and pick the streaming services that you use. If using external audio connected to HDMI 3, you'll set it up next, but I'm skipping that for now. I don't use cable services, so I'll skip that too. You'll need to agree to some legal terms, and here you can register the TV to activate its 2-year manufacturer warranty. There's a reminder that the TV is AirPlay and HomeKit compatible, and now it'll download and set up the streaming apps you chose. After that, you can set up additional profiles or kids features, but let's skip that and go right to the Google TV dashboard. If you've used any type of streaming device, service, or OS, the layout should be pretty familiar. There's a main menu bar along the top, a side-scrolling app menu, search feature, special offers, and different categories to help you navigate to different apps and content for things like free games with PlayPass. Google's AI assistant Gemini is built in, and you can enable the wake word "Hey Google" to activate it when the TV is powered on, enable personalized results, and choose a custom voice for it.
I'm ready to be your voice of choice.
Here's a voice you can pick. I'm looking forward to chatting more about whatever's on your mind.
Feel free to keep exploring until you find the perfect voice.
This could be the voice that's right for you.
Here's another voice in the mix, ready to talk about anything you like.
Here's one of the voices I have, but there are more to choose from.
If you're curious about the other voices, keep listening.
I can also talk to you using this voice.
Maybe this one is what you'd like. Choose me, and
How's this one? So many options to choose from. Pick me and we can start talking.
Pressing the mic button on the remote or using the wake word lets you communicate with Gemini. Find Reviewed by Phil on YouTube. You can search, ask general questions, and have it perform smart home tasks. Hey Google, find me the weather in New York City.
Right, New York, it's 77 degrees and mostly cloudy. Today, there'll be light rain with a forecasted high of 78 and a low of 54.
When you don't want the mic to be actively listening, using the physical switch below the screen disables the TV's mic. I found the Google TV interface to be fast and responsive, and the nice thing about this model is that it has a tri-band Wi-Fi 6E card, so you can connect to 2.4 GHz, 5 GHz, and even 6 GHz bands if your network supports it. Another feature that I really like is that its Bluetooth 5.4 capability lets me connect with multiple Bluetooth devices simultaneously. For example, I connected the TV to my Bluetooth earbuds and my wireless PS4 controller. So not only could I use the controller as a remote, including its mouse trackpad, but I also had private, lag-free audio streaming straight to my headphones, and it was perfectly in sync to the video content displayed on the screen. And with the controller, I was able to play simple native Android games on it, like Mars, without any issues. Cloud-based streaming game platforms like Luna worked okay, but immersive world RPGs like Hogwarts Legacy felt a little juddery and laggy, so I'm not sure if that's a result of not enough processing power, a slow internet connection, or perhaps one of the display settings on the TV. The game controller's input response time was generally instant and lag-free. For external gaming inputs via the HDMI ports, you will be able to achieve a maximum refresh rate of 165 Hz, and the display supports AMD FreeSync Premium Pro for variable refresh rates when connecting to a laptop or PC's GPU while using the TV as a monitor. As you can probably tell, the image quality of the display is amazingly sharp and clear, with vivid colors, good contrast, and high brightness, even during the day and under bright lighting conditions. The maximum resolution of the display is 4K at 3840 by 2160 pixels and has super fine detail that enhances realism. In addition, you can apply AI enhancement and upscaling for additional improvement to quality and clarity, from motion smoothing to noise reduction. With most of these options set to medium or high, when watching video or movies with fast-paced action, I didn't notice much blur, digital artifacts, or graininess. Even from a close distance, the pixels are so tiny that they're hard to make out. The free TV key launches Google TV Free Play for viewing an assortment of live programming that you don't need to pay a subscription fee to watch. It includes things like local news and classic TV show and movie channels. The customizable favorite button can be set to change to a specific input or launch a particular app or function, and I use mine as a shortcut to Luna. The integrated 2.1.2 speaker system actually sounds quite nice. While not as immersive as a true surround sound system, the virtualized surround sound it delivers gives you a sense of depth and movement that's more three-dimensional than stereo alone. That said, the max sound output at 50 watts is more than it needs. I keep the set at around 15 to 20 out of 100. And when I attempted to listen to higher volumes, the sound started getting deafening and distorted above 50. In lieu of increasing the volume, you can enable voice enhancement to make them clearer and louder without affecting the overall volume level. Overall, this Hisense TV was simple to set up, and I had it up and running in under 10 minutes after unboxing, which includes attaching the stand and connecting it to the internet. It delivers an enjoyable viewing experience with clear, rich picture quality and great sound. The built-in OS is smooth and responsive and offers everything I need to enjoy movies, music, and gaming on it. Fast internet connectivity, access to apps and streaming services, and multi-point Bluetooth support. I hope you enjoyed this review. You can ask me any questions in the comments. I'll put a link to the product in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and join me next time.